Hey, Jen.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going, girl. I'm feeling good.
Good.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody, to our third Call It episode.
Oh my gosh, I know. Well, for some it's number 2, for some it's 3 if you've listened to our
Yeah.
intro,
If
which
you've
is
listened to
like
the intro,
the bonus episode, I guess. Yeah.
the starter, the appetizer,
Oh, a little appetizer?
my favorite.
Mm.
Today we're switching it up. I'm giving the intro, if you didn't notice.
And she killed it.
after a couple tests.
Yeah. Jen got a little upset with me because I wasn't letting her know. Apparently, finger guns aren't a good indicator that we've started the episode.
I didn't know, Pookie.
Well, that's okay. Just
Okay.
so we know, if somebody's giving you the finger guns, it means start.
Yes.
Whatever.
So
Start
true.
something. Yeah.
Also, disclaimer, I'm getting over a cold, so if I sound a little icky, please forgive me.
If anybody's seen Friends, the best way that I can talk about Jen's voice is when Phoebe Buffay gets sick and she's like, my sticky shoes, my sticky shoes. I love it because she's so obsessed with her sexy voice, but
I don't think that's what I got going on.
I think
but-
it sounds very nice.
Well, thanks, Al.
Mhm.
I
You have a
appreciate
great radio voice.
you. Ooh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So speaking of disclaimers, I'm going to throw one in. Is
Yeah.
that cool?
Do it.
Okay. So disclaimer for today, as always, these are just our opinions. Please do not get offended if something that you think of doesn't align with what we're saying. That's cool. If you think that salt tastes like pepper, chill. Whatever.
Not chill, but like,
Yeah, but we're going to let you think what you want. So if you could return the favor, that would be super
Yeah,
sick.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, but if there is anything that you feel may add to what we're trying to get across on any topic, you can always sound off in the comments too, or, email us. That kind of goes with anything being said. If you think that we're kind of missing the mark or our fact checking isn't very factual indeed, please email us. It's connect@poppin.duluth.com. Yeah.
I think that's a good thing to throw
I think
in there.
that's a good thing to throw
Yeah.
in there too.
Another
for sure.
thing that I want to add is, even though Alex and I are both graphic designers, this podcast can definitely benefit professionals in other career paths and industries as well. Whether you're in business, marketing, you're a math teacher,
Accounting.
whatever. Yeah.
Plumbing.
It doesn't matter your profession or anything like that. We're just trying to give advice. And, today's topic is going to be dealing with difficult clients, and we're going to be speaking design-wise, but you're going to be dealing with clients that are difficult in any other field.
Anything.
So-
Yeah. If you're providing a service, you're going to have to deal with clients. And unfortunately, they're not all going to be roses and butterflies. Some
Yeah.
of them are going to be toughies. might
Well,
we say.
That being said,
Should we jump into
yeah.
it?
Alex,
oh my
do you
God,
wanna
let's
start?
jump right in. I'm doing a metaphorical cannonball into
Oh.
this topic.
Sploosh.
Okay, so when it comes to dealing with difficult clients, I think today's episode is going to probably be less of personal experiences, because even though they might have been difficult clients, I never want to throw shade on anybody.
Absolutely.
Because I never know what anybody's going through. Same thing with Jen. Like, yes, you try and leave personal things at the door when you come to work, but sometimes that's really difficult, and we're very understanding of that. So we probably won't speak on too many personal experiences, but if we do, it'll be super vague. We're not going to call anybody out, but this will probably be more of advice or things to consider as you kind of navigate through your profession. So to kind of start out, I think that thinking of my own process and how I work with design clients is making sure that we have an initial consultation over the phone, or a video call. In person is even better. If you can make that connection with them face to face, get to know their mannerisms, their body language, I think that that's something that my dad and we really agree on, is it's really hard to text people.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because I hurt my own feelings if somebody has lack of, what is that, exclamation, or like lack
Punctuation.
of punctuation. I will I'll hurt my own feelings and I'll feel really butthurt about that when it's just somebody's just like, okay, start and finish. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't need to be like this produced thing, which is totally cool. But that's why sometimes I prefer to not do texting at all with clients. If that is their preferred way of communication, totally cool. But I do think that email, calling, or having a video call in-person meeting is needed. And this is to make sure that you are the right fit for each other before you even start the project.
Which, let me add, is so extremely important in any field.
Yeah. Because why would you waste your time if you think that the client maybe doesn't like your approach, or maybe your personalities don't even mesh? Logo design, branding, any type of design project ideally is not just a quick turnaround, because I feel sometimes when projects are too fast, you don't really get the quality that you're looking for. It is nice when you do have that extra time to kind of work with them. But because you're spending so much time together, you need to make sure that you're on the same page and you're not going to be butting heads, that the way you communicate kind of lines up too. Is that how you feel?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think, well, for me in anything, communication is huge. So that's the foundation of anything. If you're not going to communicate properly, then sorry, I'm not going to take you as a client.
Right. And that's what that was one of my talking points today was, put your communication first, because most of the time your client just wants their ideas and their thoughts to be heard, and they want to feel like they have a hand in the project. A lot of small businesses that I've worked with in the past, and I know when Jen interned with us, that she got to kind of see how some clients really wanted to have the heaviest hand possible. It was their baby. It's their business. They don't want to just hand that over. That's okay. But sometimes that gets in the way of reaching the goal of whatever that project is. So having a balance there, I know Jen's going to touch on balance in a little bit and how important that is. But another thing I want to talk about is looking for red flags and misalignment between you and them. So while you're doing that initial call or that initial meeting, make sure that you're not getting too excited about the type of project, and you're really looking at, okay, how is this going to flow from start to finish? When you're talking about your process and in each stage, are they paying attention? Are they respecting what you have to say? Are they going to follow instructions? Are they actually listening to you, or are they just listening to respond? Which is huge. It goes back to the communication thing. And I think that's where a lot of people can just take something away from this episode in general, is when you are communicating with somebody, not only is it important for that person to give it to you, but because you are the only person you can control, make sure that when you're listening to your client or listening to anybody, a customer, whoever it may be, somebody maybe that you're working on a project with, make sure you're listening to what they're saying and wait until they're finished and then respond. Don't look to hear your own voice during the whole thing. It's not right to just butt in or just,
Exactly. Even though I'm doing that literally
now. But that's the nature of a podcast. So this is a little bit different. That's totally fine. Yeah. I wouldn't worry about it.
I think there's a difference between just wanting to interject yourself in the conversation and speak your mind versus genuinely giving like constructive feedback, or like genuinely trying to have a conversation with your designer or whatever situation might it be. But yeah, I think just like saying things randomly to butt in is
make
so
sure that if you are going to butt in, that it's relevant and it's important that you brought it up in the time that you did, because otherwise focus on listening to them, but you can hold yourself back and wait for the comments to come.
Relevant is a really good word for that. And I know you have more talking points, but I just thought of something that's important. So the relevancy of comments, right? I'm thinking of like not an Uber specific situation, but something that's definitely happened before. People asking about all of the details of certain projects before we even start like talking about logo ideas and generation. Like we're already onto signage and vinyl and like window graphics.
Slow it down,
and,
baby
like,
girl.
We haven't even picked out colors, or like we haven't even talked about what kind of logo you're interested in.
A good graphic designer can set the pace.
Yeah.
That is huge because like Jen was saying, you're going to have clients who want to they want start and then they want finish. They're going to come to you with a really, big deadline. They're like, oh, I need this done in a month, and yes, make sure that you're keeping them in mind, but it kind of brings back to make sure that you're being as picky about your clients as they are about hiring you. It's your time too. It's not just their time they're investing. It's because what if something is misaligned there and then all of a sudden you aren't going to get paid for the amount of work that you've put in there. So also, everybody have a contract.
Yeah.
Make sure that it is easy to read. Make sure that you understand it front to back, but make sure that you have those things in there where you're making sure that your client understands, this is the process and this is how we're going to, and we're not going to move away from that just because you want it to move quicker.
Otherwise, you're going to be selling yourself short as a designer or whatever service.
Neither will
you're providing.
benefit.
Right.
Neither of them. I'm glad that you brought that up. So when we talk about red flags and misalignment, my biggest thing with that is don't agree to do a project just because you need the work. This is very difficult when you're starting out, maybe as a freelance designer. When you're working for a firm, they're kind of doing that vetting process for you. But as a freelance, you think, oh, I'm just starting out. Not only should I have low prices, so I'm attractive to future clients, but I also need to kind of say yes to everybody just to get my name out there. When, yes, I can agree with that to a point, but you don't want to sell yourself short because then people aren't going to start respecting you for the quality and the expertise that you bring to it, because I'm a firm believer that what you settle on for a client will show what type of client that they will be. There are many graphic designers out there that will be the first to tell you that your most expensive clients that are willing to put money into a project, they will probably be the easiest client. They will trust you. They would be totally fine walking through the whole thing, and they'll give you the constructive feedback that you're looking for in like revision rounds. But when you're working with a low budget client, maybe somebody who's kind of trying to shake you down for your price, they want you at their beck and call. They are the ones that typically will text you at all hours of the day. They'll call you on the weekends, when you're telling them, hey, this is our deadline. This is when I'll have the next step to you. They're the ones still reaching out being like, hey, do you have that ready yet? When you've already discussed when to expect it. So be very careful of that. That's something that you want to be mindful of. You have so much control over it. That is another big piece that I would say is believe in yourself, be confident in what you have to offer because you're driving the ship, especially at the beginning.
I like that metaphor.
Yeah, you are El Capitano
I'm the captain
of the
now.
ship. Yeah.
Have you seen that movie?
Yeah, let me drive the boat. Exactly. You truly do have more control. Yes, I understand that your client should come first, but the client is not always right.
Ooh.
And that's controversial and juicy.
That's
juice.
Piping tea.
That is some piping tea. The client is not always right. And if you are listening to this podcast as a client and somebody who's just interested in our perspective, it's totally fine if you've ever been a difficult client.
Right.
This is an educational thing. We want you guys to get better. We want you to get the most out of it, because if you're not educated on these things, then there is that just miscommunication where it'll just continue happening.
This is meant to make things easier on both ends, right?
Exactly.
We're not coming on here to be like, fuck these clients. All of these people suck.
Yeah.
We're just trying to give advice,
Meh. Stick your tongue out like we're on the playground or something. I love it. That's funny. Yeah, just making sure that you're in control. That's also a reason why they're coming to you, is because you are the expert. You need to be able to kind of set the pace and the tone and let them know what to expect. There's no reason a client should be coming in and they're the ones that need to be following up with you, and they're the ones that need to keep you on track. That is not their job.
No.
So you need to take the reins.
You just snatched my weave with that one. That was a really good comment.
I snatched your what?
My weave.
Your weave?
Okay, that's a Jen comment, I guess. Let's
It's okay.
that.
Can our Gen Z correspondent, Jen Kettner, elaborate on what that means?
Like you snatched my wig off. Like, you shocked me. Like
I shocked you.
Yes. That was a good one. That was a good comment.
No cap.
No cap. Full brim.
That wasn't mid.
Stop!
I'm sorry, I'm old. Okay. So we talked about being confident, keeping your composure. Also, a big thing that will help you as you navigate the process with your client is being extremely transparent about your expectations as a designer, what you need from the client. So I always thought that it would be fun to have a panel of designers or just creatives in general where we get to have an open line of communication and take questions from our clients where we can educate them on being better in a client role. Because if you're not a good client, then your graphic designer is going to stress out and it's not going to be a fun project.
Right.
And when your graphic designer is passionate about your project, you will get the best out of them.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Period.
Like,
yeah.
So if you're transparent, you're making sure that they are aware of how your process goes from, beginning to end. If there's any questions, that they feel comfortable and you're approachable in your manner, that they can come to you and kind of get any of the jitters out. Sometimes it's really tough when you invest a lot of money into something and you want your thoughts and ideas to be represented visually, but you don't have that skill. That's where a lot of my clients at least come from, is they'll reach out being like, I have all these ideas, but I just don't have like the graphic design technique to make it. Yeah, the execution, exactly, to make it come to life. So we're almost visual interpreters in a way. Like we need to be able to take their ideas and transform them with the knowledge that we have into something that's usable, sustainable, and works. The last thing that I want to kind of talk on before Jen hops on here and gives her 2 cents on it, but if it's not a good fit, it's okay to step away. There have been a couple situations in the last year or so where you're just spinning your tires, and neither the client or myself as a graphic designer feel like we're getting somewhere. We're always we're just stuck, and that's really frustrating because you lose the want and the drive for the project. Momentum, yes, such a good word.
In the experience that I had working for clients, because I don't really do that so much at UWS, but with Alex working with clients, and not every situation is like this, but there were a couple ones that I can remember where we're just sitting there spinning in the same circle, losing momentum. And projects, like, I know for at least both Alex and I, we always start out so freaking excited about projects because we love what we do and we love that we're able to help people creatively. But if we're just sitting in the same place, so stagnant, not really completing anything, it's a whole lot of time, energy, and honestly, money that's being wasted and
for
lost.
Both sides.
Right.
For both sides. And it's unfortunate, and it's the tough part too is how do you bring that up in conversation, right? How do you even start? It's the elephant in the room. You know that both parties feel that way. It's a bigger red flag if you're the only one that thinks that things aren't going as smoothly as possible. Like if you were to bring it up and then your client responds with, oh, I'm surprised to hear that, almost a little blindsided. That's another issue where your communication styles are just too different. So when, again, kind of referring back to the contract, make sure that you have that in a clause, basically saying that once they've put that down payment on the project, to make sure that if you do get stuck in this rut, that you're at least getting compensated for some of it, but that it's okay that either party can have the control to be, hey, we'll talk about if we need to close out the project and what that monetary value may look like to close it out for the, the amount that's been put into it, but that it's okay. And if you are 100% transparent with them and you're just like, this isn't good for you either.
Right.
I'm not just making this decision for me. I just feel like what you want, I can't give you. And I cannot stress this enough. That is not a weakness as a designer. That is the strongest thing. It is okay to give up sometimes.
Yeah. You got to stand up for yourself.
You do.
And that's in any field. You know, if you're having difficulties with a client or you're just not grooving with the job anymore, you got to stand up for yourself, your mental health, and just do what's right. Sometimes it's going to be fucking awkward, but
that's okay because that's where you get better just as a person in general. I feel like professional settings, you spend most of your life at work with the way that the world is.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that your stress isn't overtaking everything because you're not going to enjoy going to work. You're going to push things off and procrastinate because you're having such a rotten time working on certain things or with certain people. So yeah, in any position, just make sure that, again, you put yourself first. I mentioned this in one of our first episodes, and it's so true that it's okay to be uncomfortable, and a lot of like your self-growth is going to come from those uncomfortable situations. A lot of great things are born out of the fear and being able to just face fear right there and be good with it. So if it's not a good fit, please step away, and it's totally fine. It's fine to admit defeat sometimes.
Yeah, I would agree. And maybe sometimes it's not even defeat, but it's like, I'm thinking about Miley Cyrus, The Climb right now. There's always going to be
You really came in with that?
Sorry, I keep clearing my throat. I feel ick. But yes,
It's
I
all
did come
good.
in with that. There's always going to be another mountain. Always going to want to
Take us
make
to church,
it
Jen.
move.
Take us
You
to
know,
church. Hallelujah,
It might be
baby.
an obstacle in this moment, but you just got to climb that mountain. Sometimes if you can't climb the mountain, it's okay to go back down.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow. You know what? Our analogies have gotten better.
And it's only episode 3,
And it's only episode 3, baby.
Let's go.
All right. Well,
love it.
that's my spiel.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you the reins. Now you're driving the boat.
Okay, bet. The first thing that I want to talk about is dealing with clients that have a little bit of a difficulty, and honestly dealing with any kind of client in general is a fine line that you have to try and balance, right? Sometimes there's going to be difficulty, but like we were just talking about, it's just something you kind of have to work through, or if you find that it's going to be too much for you, you can't sacrifice your mental health just for like monetary gain or just another piece for your portfolio, whatever it might be, however you're viewing this.
It's not worth it.
Right, exactly. That brings me to my next point, which is, on one hand, I'm the expert in the situation, right? I have a graphic design degree. Alex does too, and all or most graphic designers do have some sort of like larger qualification that makes them able to be doing what they're doing, right? That separates you from the client.
Absolutely.
Myself, I studied graphic design for 4 years, and even before that, I worked on my high school yearbook for 4 years. So that's like 8 years of design experience right there, you know?
Right.
Maybe it's not working for a company in specific, but that's definitely some sort of qualification, right?
Absolutely. And may I interject? Clients, you are not a graphic designer.
Just because you have a Canva account.
Exactly. And I also want to put out there that, hello, anything you design on Canva, you will never legally be able to own. Any font, even if you alter it, you cannot own that. So whatever, a part of my language, but whatever bullshit logo that you came up with.
Spicy.
Yeah. Whatever garbage script font that everyone and their fucking dog uses.
Yeah.
You can't own that. As cool as you think it is, first of all, it's awful. It's going to be really hard to use. And please stop using script fonts that look like each other, because you could be, if somebody were to look at your font or your logo, they don't know if you're a photographer, if you do wedding hair, if you do wedding makeup. They don't know if you're an esthetician. Right. So many people use it. If you're a wedding, like, it is not unique enough.
It's overdone. It's overused. I'm over it.
We're broken up. We're broken up with script fonts. Yeah. At least the typical ones.
They're done.
But anyways, yes, please don't use Canva. You're not a graphic designer, and that's okay.
But that's what separates us from the client.
And that's why you hire us.
Right.
We're here to take care of you. We want to nurture you. We want to wrap you up in a little graphic design blanket and tell you everything's going to be okay because it is. So trust us.
Exactly. Trust is a very big part of this.
And back to you in the studio, Jen.
Hi, this is Jen Kettner reporting live from Duluth, Minnesota. This is breaking news. Canva is out.
Canva is out.
Graphic designers are in.
So in.
So where I was going with this was, on one hand, I'm the expert, right? On the other hand, the other side of the situation, your client's always going to have those like creative thoughts and ideas, and they're going to have opinions and feelings on artwork as well, whether it be the artwork you're creating or like other designs they've seen in the world. They're always going to have some sort of opinionated background.
And bias.
Yeah, that's a really good word for it. Thank you for interjecting with that. That was a good one.
Totally.
Yeah, so their opinions and feelings or whatever might not align with your opinions as a designer, or again, if you're the math teacher listening in this situation, maybe your student's not going to agree with the feedback that you're giving them to pass this test, right? But it's going to be a compromise of your idea versus theirs.
Huge compromise. And that's what a lot of it's about. It's you're building a relationship. All relationships are compromise. Every single one of them. So if you're not, and this is now more for graphic designers, get your ego out of the way.
Yes.
Because sometimes the clients are right and you need to stop acting like you do know everything.
Right.
That is where the balance is coming in, where Jen's talking about. You don't know everything. Jen and I, we talked at the beginning of our podcast saying that we are professionals, but we're not experts.
Right.
Those things are very synonymous with each other, but they're very different at the same time.
Mm-hmm. That was an extremely good point to bring up. I agree with everything that you just said. So, like I was saying, it's going to be a compromise of your ideas versus theirs, and hopefully the crits that come from this are a little bit more constructive and come from a place of wanting the best for their business or whatever it might be that you're designing for or creating something for. At the end of the day, they're going to know more about their clients and business than we do. We can definitely learn to understand things, and that's where a lot of the creative process comes from, like the first initial, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but exploration.
Yeah.
That's where that's
like the discovery phase.
Right. As designers, we're meant to kind of fill in the gaps. We're not meant to absolutely know everything, but we're just connecting that bridge from the idea in your mind to getting it out to the clients, right?
Absolutely.
And like I said, sometimes it's not going to be helpful or constructive feedback. Sometimes it's going to be like, ooh, that green's a little too green. Maybe can we fix that?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, okay, what does a little too green mean to you? It's so subjective.
Yeah, Jen and I were talking about this earlier today. I feel like it's a trend on Instagram or social media or TikTok maybe, where graphic designers are making videos about all the outlandish responses that clients get. Make it pop.
Make it pop.
Make it pop. Or it's the, I don't know what it is, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
So saying that whatever you just provided, which you probably spent a lot of time and effort on, they hate it, but they also don't have constructive feedback on how to move forward. So again, like you're just sitting there and you're like, oh my God.
I have a really funny story about this.
Okay.
It's really funny in my opinion, and it's a short story. So guys, if you don't find this funny, it's not going to hurt my feelings. But the other day I was working and I was just having like a moment of brain fart poopiness. Like my brain was just mush, you know? So I'm just like staring at my computer in frustration. And one of my coworkers came over and he's like, hey, how's your day going? Like, whatever. We're talking for a little bit. I'm like, yeah, like this project's going really well. I keep feeling like I get really good feedback on it. But at some point, like, we just got to call it. You know, which, call it
whatever you want.
Yeah.
Call it done is what you're saying.
Yes.
I need to add something on that because it makes me think of something that I try and keep in mind when I'm working with maybe multiple clients. Like you have a team of people who are reviewing things. There needs to be one unified voice because they talk about this arc in a meeting or in a review when you're going over designs. You can nitpick the shit out of any design. you will always be able to find something that you don't like if you talk about it long enough.
Right.
The longer you look at it, it won't be what you envisioned.
Right.
And especially when you have multiple people, you're not really, like Jen said earlier, keeping your business goal in mind. It's like, what are you trying to accomplish with this design or this project? So if you're just bringing in your personal opinion, like, oh, I don't like it, it's like, well, that's too damn bad, because that's not what the design is. We're not designing a logo for you. It's for your business.
Yeah.
You have to think that you have employees that work there, what your clients are going to take away from it. There's so many different things. But yes, they say that there's this arc and a meeting where things are going really good. And when they're going good, before they start coming down, which it naturally will, the more you talk, end it.
No kidding. Yeah, good point. The moral of that story was there was a designer before me at my current place of work that received some feedback. And the feedback was, well, I don't hate it. And that to me is the worst kind of feedback I could ever get. I told my coworker if I would receive that, I would be so extremely frustrated. And I can handle myself pretty well when I get criticism. Like, I'm never going to take it personally.
Yeah.
But that I would take personally.
But it's also not constructive.
No, it's nothing.
Because
It's
what are you supposed to do with that?
bullshit.
It's mumbo jumbo bullshit.
Yes.
We should get a t-shirt that says that. Mumbo jumbo bullshit.
This just in. Breaking news. The Call It Girls have new merch. Mumbo jumbo bullshit. And then our faces on the back.
I almost just ate the microphone with my teeth because I was laughing so hard.
I've been told I'm pretty funny before.
You are really funny. You bring some zest to this platform.
Zest.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like being zesty.
You are zesty.
I had to look at my list because we were just talking for
That's
a long
okay.
time.
It's fun.
Yeah. Okay. So at the end of the day, balancing is key, right? You have to find that fine line between constructive criticism and feedback versus, ooh, that green's just a little too green, even though in my case it never would be.
Dig deep and give us some extra words, please.
Right.
Yeah.
So all of that being said, clients are going to come at you with feedback, whether it's constructive, decent, or even feedback, to be honest. But at the end of the day, me, myself, and Alex would stand behind this statement as well. You want to be proud of the work that's going to be put behind your name. And that can be in any scenario. It's not just art, graphic design. You want to be a proud math teacher, right? I don't know why
I don't.
math is stuck in my head tonight.
I don't either. Math is disgusting.
Yeah, I agree. I hate it.
I'm so sorry to any math teacher that could potentially listen to this. It's not about you. It's about what you stand for. It's disgusting.
I'm going to shout out my dad for a second because he went to school for math.
Stop.
Andy,
Andy,
you're amazing.
I'm so sorry. I was talking to everyone but you. Okay, cutie. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So you want to be proud of the work you put your name behind, but also Alex taught me this in my time interning at Pop and Dot. Drum roll, please, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes you just got to put it in the folder of shame. And if you don't know what I mean by the folder of shame, I'm like picturing my Apple computer in my head, right? So you have folders just full of piles of shit, right? Like I have probably 200 different folders, if not more, on my computers, right? But one of those folders is the folder of shame. Whether you label that,
whether you just come out and say it.
No, exactly, yeah. But sometimes if you can't find that fine line of connecting with the client and like really making something good for them, or that you're just not proud of, but you compromised on, just throw her in the folder of shame, ladies, and never look at it again.
Never look at it again. And if you do...
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, I just said ladies, but ladies, men, thems, whatever you identify as, you can have a folder of shame.
Yeah, sometimes we just say ladies like my ladies,
Yeah.
you know, like it's we're not trying to like pigeonhole anybody,
No.
but you know,
Yeah.
we're just having fun. We're letting things roll off the tongue,
Yeah,
you know.
sorry, I felt that was important to add.
No, that's okay. So the folder of shame, I was taught by one of my favorite professors, Bill Harbour, who
Shout out Bill.
Bill. At Minot State University, it's such a good learning lesson because you cannot produce good graphic design work all the time because, like Jen said, you are going to get a client where it is push and pull and pulling, and you're trying your best to tell them this will not work. Whatever you want to do, whether it's signage, merch, you're going to run into issues.
Right.
If you're looking at it and the font is too light and you're trying to use it as a Instagram profile photo and it's so, like 180 by 180 pixels, it's so tiny, but no one can read what your business is, you're not going to be able to be found. Like, that's what graphic designers are supposed to do, is we're protecting you and your investment and that brand recognition that you're trying to get out there with your clientele and your target market. If that happens, sometimes you give them exactly what they want. You give them that god-awful script Canva font and you just, tuck it away in the folder of shame and you never look back.
Yeah.
I'm so happy you brought that up.
Well, that was like, I took a lot of things away from my internship, right? But that was a big one because in college, everyone tells you like, oh my God, your designs are just like so good, Jen. I love it. Like, you could never do anything wrong. Your shit is the sparkliest
your shit don't
and
stink.
We love it. No, exactly. Right? But sometimes it's just not true. Sometimes I'm just like not happy with stuff I make, and that's okay. It's not the end of the world. Like, I'm not going to quit designing. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of failure here and there, but sometimes you just stick it in that folder, and when you need a laugh or like to put yourself in your place, you take your look at the folder of shame and think, oh my God, who am I?
Yeah. Or it might be a positive thing to look back and see how far you've come in your design choices that you naturally make, which is really nice. I can't tell you the last time I looked at my folder of shame. I have some of them up on our Instagram, but I feel like it's yes, there's a folder of shame, but sometimes you need to put that out there so people at least know that it is something that you can do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe when it comes to an Instagram post, you can put a little bit of like a explanation in there. You know, there's a way to allude that the design decisions weren't necessarily yours. So let's say that you post something and you don't really care for the outcome or the visuals that you had. You can use verbiage like this half and half collaboration. We worked hand in hand with the client. We made their vision come true. Use those word indicators where it's still flattering towards the client, but you're still not taking full accountability for the design choices you made.
And I'm not saying like you can't post that shit. God forbid, you can post whatever you want. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it is important to like just be proud of the stuff that you're putting out there. And if you're not fully proud of it, like Alex just said, like at least have some notation that's like, hey, you know what? Like, this was actually a really like close-knit project with our client.
It was a group effort.
Ooh, we love a good group effort.
I feel like we used to say that in college when you had a really shitty group project. You're like, it was a group effort.
Oh.
And then the person in the group where you're like, thanks for never responding to my emails. Thanks for putting no effort in.
Dare I say, felt. I feel that.
Yeah.
Like really hard.
Mm-hmm.
All that is to say, sometimes you also have to remind yourself and the client that you're the expert, right? I need to remind myself I have 4 years of school behind me and 4 years of design experience behind that. Not that that makes me better than the client or anyone by any means, but it also helps my decision making and realize that like, oh, you know what? I am worthy of being a designer because of X, Y, and Z. There's
the balance of being confident and also, but then not being egotistical.
Right.
And I feel like you, Jen, you're confident. I don't feel like you're egotistical at all because you can take criticism and you want to get better. I think it's okay to remind the client sometimes like, hey, this is my background. This is why you picked me.
Right.
Let us not forget that you hired me. You signed the contract. You knew what to expect. So don't play a fool.
I agree completely. And it's also important to listen to their feedback as much as you can. But sometimes it's going to be more about meeting in the middle. And maybe those are the projects that end up in the folder of shame. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you aren't going to have like full creative freedom to do absolutely anything that your heart desires, right?
Yeah.
But that's okay. I think that's what causes some variety in the world.
For sure. It's creative problem solving because your client's coming with you with an issue and they need it to be visually solved.
Yeah. I love visually solving. That's
Me too.
My favorite
activity. It's like a little puzzle.
Yeah. One thing that I'm going to read straight from my notes, because I apparently last night when I was really sick and in my feels, I was writing some truths down on my notes.
So philosophical.
So philosophical. Are you ready for this? I'm like basically a certified philosopher at this point. It's not about designing for your client. It's about designing with your client.
That was romantic as hell.
It's
Oh my
poetic.
God. Music to my ears.
Mm-hmm. I murdered that dance floor, if you know what I mean. If anyone
Met her
gets
on
the
the dance
reference.
floor.
Period. I
Can
showed
I
my
feel the
parents that
groove?
song this weekend.
Did you? Did you
Yeah.
show them the movie?
No, but I told them about it.
Anybody who's watched Saltburn, let us know.
Let me know. how
Let
you're
us know
doing.
your thoughts. Jen and I watched it for the first time together, and I ended up watching it 2 more times.
It's so good. Like,
I have no comment. I have no comment.
period. Well, on that note, do we have any closing comments? Because I can't really top that. For anyone, well, we don't have a video going this time, but for anyone who can't see my hand right now, fucking mic drop, baby.
That's a mic drop.
Yeah.
We won't drop these mics because they're on stands.
And they're expensive.
And they're expensive, yeah. We want to be very respectful of our studio space. But, I mean, as far as what we've talked about, I think we're good to go. But I just want to reach out to anybody, whether that be, you know, if you are a graphic designer, if you're in a design job at all, a creative field, if you have questions about small businesses, if you just have questions for Jen and I on advice, feel free to ask us about anything. It could be personal advice. Hey, I'm having an issue in my personal life and I can't balance it with my professional life, my business.
Right.
Ask us. We may not have the perfect advice, but at least you'll feel better because you've gotten it off of your
Yeah.
chest and you'll have something to take away from it.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we said all the things.
I agree. I think we covered this topic pretty well. We did have one anonymous caller today. Not so anonymous. It was my sister, Jordan. Hey, girl.
Hey.
Miss you. But I think it's like a nice first question and also kind of a funny way to end this. Jordan called me like right when I was walking into the studio today. And I was like, hey girl, like, what's up? I'm about to start recording with Alex. And she's like, oh, put me on speaker. Like, I got a question. So I put her on speaker and she's like, so is the name of your podcast, Call It, is it a Taylor Swift reference? Not directly, but we love Taylor Swift. Okay, for those who don't know, she has a song called Call It What You Want on her Reputation album. It is a godsend song. It is so effing incredible, okay? But it was not the inspiration from the song.
It wasn't. So I love Taylor Swift, but I can't say that I'm a Swiftie because I see the status and the respect and the knowledge that these true Swifties have, and I am nowhere near. However, I respect your game. I respect the game. I love that you guys, and the fact that your sister was looking for those Easter eggs, which is just such a Swiftie thing to do.
It's such a Swiftie move. I love it.
So if anybody is curious, Call It came from the idea that we wanted to be able to talk about anything on this podcast, whether it be design, business, lifestyle, because they all kind of are interchangeable. So we're like, call it whatever you want.
Which is funny because her song is like, call it what you want, call it what you want to.
Not helping our case, but let's just say leave it up to interpretation.
Yes, queen.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, word.
All right, well, we're going to get out of here. We have a girls' night. We're going to go get some pizza.
Yeah.
We're going to go get some dandruff shampoo.
Yeah, we're gonna go to
because
Ulta
it's
Beauty.
okay to have a dry scalp.
It is. Normalize that shit.
Normalize dry scalps and flakiness.
A girl's
So-
got to do what a girl's got to do. We got to get that shampoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Love you guys.
Love you. Bye, pals.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
Slay.